we covering this topic today of startup visa program timing, and specifically timing of PR processing. I know it's on your mind, and I know it's bothering some people who think that they are in progress, or rather in process a little bit longer than expected. What we're talking about today is quite simple. We're talking about timing of startup visa program. Why I show you this selection of startup visas from around the world is quite simple. You have to understand that we have a unique program here in Canada, and this program works. The reason for me to mention this program is because they seem like that startup visa program, they look like startup visa program, they sound like startup visa program, but they're quite different. Not only they different in demand for money you have to spend, in requirements, how you want to proceed, and timing when you get your permanent residency. Don't forget, it's not temporary residence we're talking about. We're talking about permanent residency in Canada. So for that matter, I have to tell you that basically Canadian program is probably one of few still working. And this is important because sometimes people say it takes long. Well, it stopped all over the world altogether. But let's talk about Canada. So in Canada, we have best regulatory standards. And why I repeat this, because people sometimes telling me that they found some other program somewhere. And my simple question is, did you check their requirements? I mean, to be honest, you have to consider apple and compare apple to apple, not apple to oranges. And that's exactly how we assess it. What are requirements here? Let me refresh your memory, because it's quite significant that we have those minimal requirements. They're very flexible too. Minimal language requirements. So if English or French is not your first language, it's hard to perfect it to the fluency. And CLB5 is just a beginner level. Sufficient settlement funds. Guys, I know I sound like a broken record, but when people complain that they cannot maintain settlement funds, I have no pity. I just have no compassion, because you started immigration and settlement funds requirement is the same as poor students or foreign workers working on minimum wage or something like that. They have to produce the same amount of settlement funds. This is significant because you don't have to stretch yourself to beyond limits and to the point of breaking your financials. It's normal for people who intend to move to a new country to have certain savings, and that's a settlement funds requirement here in Canada. Support from designated organization, yes, it's a difficult part, maybe the most difficult part if we're talking about something beyond your control, but we guarantee that. And that's the most significant part for you to know. Minimal education requirements. Many countries will not accept you without certain level of degree, bachelor in certain industry or educational field. That's a given. Here, it doesn't matter. If you have high school, you already can compete with others. And by the way, you don't have to compete with others because this program is outside point system. Remember that. Business experience, you don't have to have any. Okay, that's unique opportunity here for people who entrepreneurial, maybe just go into university and realize, like Bill Gates in his time, for example, or guys from Stanford, you know, both guys, they created Google while they were students. So if you have some innovative idea, you can start without any business experience at all. Isn't that unique? Innovative idea, of course you have to have it, but we work on this together, and those who in process and deeply in process, you know our know-how, how we work with entrepreneurs, how we help them to perfect the idea and cultivate it to the point of acceptance, and most definitely qualify in business venture. We will pay attention to that today because many people kind of understate that when they working with clients, and I hear so many horror stories when people get rejected because they completely ignore the fact that they have to maintain active and operational business. Those things matter, and that's let me explain how they matter. But first, Many of you who already got it, familiar with this type of document. For those who just listening and thinking of joining or started but didn't receive the letter of support yet, most definitely you have to know what it is. People sometimes saying, oh, I need letter of support. But letter of support, guys, let me remind you, is something that you have as part of commitment certificate document. Okay, so don't be confused. Letter of support is part of commitment certificate document. And this is important because sometimes people saying, I got my letter of support. And trust me, I see those fake letters of support, and it's kind of easy to fake, right? Because it's just simple form. Not everybody has access to that, but this is a simple form. And most definitely people try to fake, like people produce fake money. Same story here. So when we issue certificates with designated organization, we verify everything, and this is your name here, and data from designated organization is right here, and expiry dates are right here. So certain things for people who are familiar with the subject immediately clarify, is it real or fake? But to be fair, the simple process of verification created by Immigration Canada from day one of this program, how they do this, designated organizations send it to immigration first. And when we receive certificates and letters of support, we present it to you. And then when we send the file, the permanent residency file, to immigration, later on, when we process your file and send it and submit it, they match certificates first. And if you happen to provide letter of support, but they don't have it on the system yet, that's how they fix the fake and the fraud. So a lot of people actually tried that when it started, the program started. Now I rarely hear that somebody tried to produce, but guess what? Last month, I got a call from one client, and he said, oh, my designated organization was blocked for me. Like I never worked with them, but my lawyer produced a letter of support. And he charged me a lot because he did it so fast. What we discovered was fake letter of support. So I suggested to client to start investigation and file official complaint with immigration, because we have to get rid of those bad apples, right? So going forward, we're talking about certain things that we need to keep in mind, and those things are timelines. Why it's important to see it in perspective of the whole program. Let me walk you through. The program was launched just 10 years ago in April 2013. Okay, and I was the first trainer for lawyers and consultants around the world, in Canada actually, and around the world, who practiced at the time business immigration. When I invited them for my first seminar in April of 2014, it was very unique experience, because I asked them one simple question. Over 200 people attended, and lawyers, consultants from all over Canada. When I asked them to raise a hand if they have experience with startups and understand what startup program is, only one hand very carefully was raised. And it's a pattern, because basically you have to understand this is a new program for everyone here. Now it's not so new, because in April of 2018, just less than 5 years ago, the program became permanent. So I always compare this. Just imagine 5-year-old child. It's barely walk, it's barely talk, right? It's still learning, it's still developing. And what do you expect from the program that is just 5 years old? It's evolving. And why it's evolving? Because immigration and those who in progress and who on our program for quite some time now, they you know that we provide experience from requests, from inquiries from immigration, and those who saw two comparables with few months between them, you understand and will probably support my words here that they evolve and they actually grow in demand, and they go in deeper under the skin of the applicant and asking personal questions, and now they start paying attention to business questions. Okay, so what was a real timeline? What's supposed to be a real timeline? Guys, please understand how it works in real world when we have force majeure and acts of God, and pandemic was definitely that, and war or any kind of military conflict somewhere in the world, or refugee crisis somewhere like it was last year in Afghanistan, in 2001 in Afghanistan, and last year Eastern European crisis evolved. So obviously we're talking about certain things that we have to keep in mind, that those are not normal. What is normal is what we did before pandemic, and in July 2019 we crossed the record. Nobody did it before or after us, and we crossed the record of PR process in just 55 days. I'm not bragging about it. I'm just stating the fact that this program, it was designed for fast processing. Okay, that's why when we have experienced today and experience some delays, you have to understand we're getting back to normal slowly but surely, and that's what I will explain to you today. So I'm not saying just just to give you a pep talk, but I'm telling you this is something that you have to understand for sanity of your mind and for clever understanding how program works. 55 days was normal for us. Normal time for others probably was about 2, 4, 5, 6 months, but within 6 months, we processed pretty much every team we started. Within 55 days, it was a record. It was great. And people actually, we canceled work permit application because that one took longer than actual PR. It was funny. Now, the most recent experience is about 15 months. I will show you what we mean by that, and it's real-time experience and real-time application. But you have to understand when government says something about 32 months, 30 months, let me address that. Timeline that presented by the government, by definition, is a rear view mirror look. Okay, pay attention to this. How else? If you think about it, how else can they know the number? They don't have crystal ball as well, so they don't know how it projects in the future. They just say current processing time is 32 months, they say. Well, if you look back and you see pandemic time when everything was completely frozen for 18 months, of course, the longest file now, take that into consideration. And if you deduct, let's say 18 months, you will have normal processing time of about 15. Right now, we don't have pandemic delays, we just have backlog, but we getting back to normal slowly but surely. Okay, so the positive sign is there, and people who join or thinking to join the program, I strongly recommend doing that, and I'll explain why in a minute. But first, let's see the real-time example of our processing. Why I show you this, because it's one of the longest normally processed times. It's for people who actually normally process longer, and I'm not calling for nationality here, but I'll just tell you that it's not supposed to be that fast, judging by background. And every time when people live in one country and they have citizenship of another country and they probably travel extensively, that require or got education, let's say in third country, everything matters for the officers, especially at the time of criminality and security background check. You have to understand that, because otherwise you just think that one person sitting and waiting and doing nothing, and that's why you delay in process, for example. Well, everything is relative, right? So if your case is different from other people's cases, then you have to be patient. So we received this one in May of 2021. This is confirmation when we actually sent application to immigration, and it was submitted in April of that year, on April 12th. So you see, less than a month, and we received confirmation with file number and everything. So it was temporary. That was a new procedure because it was after COVID, right after COVID, and we're in process that first we received temporary file number. That was here, and then so it was May when immigration notified us about that, but original time of submission, remember this date, it was April 2021. Okay, so going forward, what we see here, we see that we received in March 18, 2022, less than a year after application was submitted and immigration acknowledged that, they said, yes, it's related to your application submitted in April of 2021. So less than 12 months later, they assigned the permanent number and they started processing it. This is what this notification from immigration is all about. Okay, so if we going forward, we remember this date, right? March 2018. So if we're going forward, what we see here, we see that application in August of 2022 received formal approval and request to send passport for PR visa stamping. So August 2015, 2022, August 12, after it was submitted back in March of 2021. So that's about 15 months altogether. Sorry, in April, yes. So in April, between April and August, it takes about 15 months. This is a real-time example. You see how it works when everything goes smoothly. And this is for one of the longest otherwise processed files. Of course, you can say, but my personal file, Dr. Alex, takes a little longer. Sure, I understand that. And I'm not saying I don't, and I'm not ignoring the fact that some applications go beyond this timeline, but this is, trust me, based on hundreds and hundreds of files we process a year, because we're probably still the biggest processor of startup visas in Canada. We have this timeline as average. So I show you, we have faster processing results. Yes, we do. And we have longer, but this is average. That's why I show you this one. Okay, so this is just a second part. If for those who get into this exciting moment, you have to know that when you have approval, your PR is issued and ready to submit passport and you're ready to relocate to Canada. If you in Canada, then you have option to send documents here, and this is mailing address in Canada. And if you mail in the US, it's different. And if you overseas, you go to overseas visa office. So when you have exciting visa, immigrant visa in your passport, then you can start planning. And this is the COPR who never signed. This is confirmation of permanent residency that you receive. And when you land, you have your PR granted. Okay, so this person, if you mention, in August, they receive invitation to send the passport. It was stamped in August. Yes, we send it right away. It was valid. Why it's also important, it was valid until February 2023. So they had to land before February of this year. Actually, it's still valid, but they landed on October 15 of that year. So it took them fairly like 2 months to arrange personal affairs and move here. And that's also important for timelines understanding, because people sometimes push and push and push. And then when they got the visa, they asking me to delay the process of landing. And just mind-blowing to me, but that's how it works. So working on why I show you this, because people sometimes say, Dr. Alex, where does it say the startup visa? It's abbreviation right here, SUD. And SUD on a list of government list of codes and secret codes, I would say, abbreviations, and that's exactly startup business, okay? SUD, federal startup business. And by the way, let me remind you, it's federal application we're talking about. We're not talking about intermediary application, basically with some province or some company, and then you have qualification and then you apply a few years later. This is the fastest business processing in Canada. Okay, doesn't matter if you want to move to Canada, this is the fastest route. Yes, it takes longer. Everything else takes way longer. Okay, and I will show you some examples here. So how it works when we're talking about timelines of processing. I know some of you already passed that and already knows that, and already in this very nice process of PR submission. We're working on business development. I recognize some names from teams that we have, so that's perfect. Now, how it works in general. Sometimes people concern, and that's why I put it here. Some of you came to us from people who refer you to us. be it agency, marketing agency on the ground in some city in UAE or Saudi Arabia or Qatar, or maybe we're talking about India, maybe we're talking about Hong Kong, and I see people from all over today, which represents even Latin America here from our clientele. US, I see, perfect. See, people from all over the world, but when they introduce to the program by somebody who knows about it, be it your relative or friend or agencies or whatever, we don't know about you. So to be fair, when somebody coming to me and saying, Dr. Alex, I am in progress for like a year now and I'm not moving along. Well, I know about you for 1 month. I don't know what you're talking about. To be honest, just to be fair, we have to separate this first stage from normal processing. That will be helpful for your sanity, for your clever understanding of the process. So when you introduced to the program by somebody who told you about that, before you introduced to us, before you went through onboarding process with Anyvisa, we don't know about you. We wish we do, but no, we don't. So onboarding with Anyvisa, that's where our plugin system works perfect. We have plugin system, we have program called Just In Case, based on Japanese system of Just In Case created by Mr. Toyota. So when we have certain stage, we have other stages coming to that point as well. And that's a secret of our fast processing. We never wait, we never do it in consequential order. We do it simultaneously, we able, that's our know-how, that's our secret sauce. So up to 3 months, onboarding must be closed. On my books, it must be closed. And another reason for you guys to understand, this process that you see presented here, it's on budget. When I say on budget, people probably don't get it. Please understand. There are lots of firms that work on hourly system, and there is other style of service providers like us who work on budget. That means the longer you in service, the less money we make overall, because we have to maintain your business, we have to maintain your team, we have to follow and help. That's not productive. So when people say, oh, you probably benefit, you don't care. No, we do care, because I have to watch my company's bottom lines, right? So we cannot just be there and do nothing. And if we do something, no one works for free. Of course, we have to spend money on personnel, on support teams, on business development, on this, on that. People must understand it's in our interest to push you forward faster. Okay, so that's why we created the system called Just In Case. So up to 3 months in this process, obtaining letter of support, never been longer than that, but up to 3 months after we basically onboard to fix it. And then we talking about minor deviation here recently, because government of Canada introduced extremely new measures in terms of your processing, even on the stage of issuing letter of support. Because before designated organization, when we started, and speaking of evolvement, you remember what I said a few minutes ago, the program is evolving, and the program evolving the way that it makes things more complicated. It's not making things easier, trust me. We prevent our clients from being involved in these complications. We try to protect them, but whatever looks easy from outside, it's not easy, I can tell you, inside at all. Okay, so right now, designated organizations require to verify everything to the last point of background to make sure people have IELTS. It was not required before. It was required at the time of submission of to RCC. Now we do have that requirement, and that's why some people say, oh, I need another month to prepare. Well, please be prepared at this stage. English is required, so please do that. Please don't delay yourself. And then, of course, we strive to submit applications to PR within 6 months. Usually we submit it faster, but people sometimes missing the point. When we have letter of support and it's still valid for 6 months, we better be ready. And that's where our system of just in time come into the process heavily. Okay, now Let's talk about how we expedite PR process and what you can do still if you're in process to succeed and help us to facilitate your specific process. So first of all, we try to eliminate red flags of inadmissibility. You understand that who already in process, you know what I'm talking about. We have to talk about medical situation, criminality, misrepresentation. Sometimes people, we discover something at the very last moment. I call it 11th hour update, because when people say, oh, by the way, I had application and my previous agent or whatever, whoever it was, well, didn't save anything for me and I don't know where it is. And we submit based on words and information we have now. And last year, I went through a very unpleasant process when the person was rejected. And because she was essential, the whole team was rejected and started all over because she lied to me. She lied to her partners. I asked her why you did that, because mentioning prior submission would not hurt. We can handle it. We can handle pretty much everything. But misrepresentation, because you didn't mention at all that you were in process and were refused, and government of Canada said, no, we have a record. You were here and you were refused, and it was a problem here. Now, misrepresentation. Misrepresentation caused 5-year ban, any applications canceled, no appeal rights. It's brutal, guys. Okay, so let's stay very alarmed and very alert against any kind of misrepresentation. That means when some of my consultants, some of my team on a legal side or on a local level asking you to provide specific explanation or give more information, well, that's the time for you to remember my words. It's not for us, it is for you. Okay, of course, what can delay processing when people actually experiencing financial difficulties? That's why we always assess if you're able to go through the program before we start. And I always recommend people who recommend you to us to inform you about that, because definitely people sometimes coming on board and then they say, oh, it was a problem in my business. I put all the money in my business. I totally get it. I'm running businesses for 30 years and I understand how it works, but there is no excuse because settlement funds amount is so small compared to other things you have in life, your possessions, your properties, your life, your kids' education. I understand that, but preserve, if you move into Canada, if that's your goal, then please help us to help you. It's your money. You don't have to spend it, but you have to have it. You have to have enough money when we ask for this, for legal fees, for business development side, because we're talking about like annual reporting. People say, no, we don't have money now. Well, who is covering this? It's your business, right? So first year, we usually cover it by designated organization investors, and we're talking to them. They understand it's part of their contribution to the business. But after all, they're not immigrating to Canada. You are. So be understandable. Be proactive. Say, how can I expedite the process? Not just waiting, right? Waiting is nothing. Okay. Develop innovative idea, qualified business venture. Of course, if you're not participating in what we prescribe as suggested course of action, you delay us. I have teams who completely went non-comunicado, and I see name of the agent here who introduced actually to us. I can tell you, it's a pain because people who go non-comunicado, they present problems for everyone, for themselves first, but for us as well, because how can we do something with nothing? Try to cook something if you have empty table. Just seriously, look at the empty table and say, I want to cook something. What are you going to cook? Nothing. What can I cook if we have nothing coming from the other side? Nothing. Non-comunicado is a problem. So participating, following our advisory, following timelines that our angels and their development teams working and presenting to you, that's expediting processing for sure, because some of those updates, we always push in government very carefully. And by the way, for those who just started or missing the point of how can we push the government because they think that we can just write letters every day and remind, let me tell you, internal memo in immigration processing teams long ago, I saw it probably 15 years ago, clearly presented the point of frequent request. It says to the officers, if you experience frequent unreasonable inquiries, it may delay the process. It shows that government of Canada gave green light to officers to put your file just slightly lower in processing time if you bug it and bug it and bug it. So I always tell people, don't be like that child in the car, mommy, are we there yet? Of course we're going there, of course we're moving, but please be patient. But to be absolutely honest with you, I can tell you, internally, once we have any kind of significant progress or any change for that matter, like you change family composition, you have a new baby in the family, you have something significant change in your career, or you change residency address, or something else happened, or you're relocated to another country, that's basically the reason we have to inform the immigration. When we inform immigration, every time we use the chance of legally and reasonably to push file forward. So we do that. Don't worry about that. And improve relevant experience. The last thing I want is people stop learning, stop studying, stop developing themselves, because we want to show that we are progressing. And why we're progressing? Because government, few months later, and those who saw inquiries from the immigration, they were surprised, but not that surprised, because we always show those examples from prior processions. That's a good part to work with somebody with daily experience. So we always tell people, listen, if you do nothing and immigration say, what did you do for the last 10 months? We didn't hear from you. Now it's time for us to assess what you did. And guess what? If we have nothing to show, then we're screwed, because active and operational business, participation in business is a key, okay? So by participating in business, you can help. How else you can help? For the last few years, well, 2 years to be exact, our partners in education and business created this program. It's ideation lab course. I know a few, I recognize names who pass it. It was incredible result, because it's just incredible. Why? Because this is compressed in a very short format and very precise. No bullshit, no water, all information, all useful stuff about concept, business administration, how business environment work in Canada. In Canada, you may say, well, yeah, I run my business in Saudi Arabia for the last 5 years. Good. You probably know something about Saudi Arabia ecosystem. Here is different. Everything is different. Banks work differently. Relationship, law, everything. We have it. And what they did, they put 4 modules, each containing 4 weeks of classes covering 4 topics per week on your schedule. It's extremely helpful, guys. And it's also discounted. We just negotiated. The next course starts on February 6th. And this is extremely helpful for you to sign up. You all getting emails. If not, reply to those who promoted this webinar to you and ask about the special 75% discount. It's just $1,000 for 4 months course. It's incredible value, guys. And certificate of completion we send to immigration as well, and we remind them about your participation in business this way. And it definitely getting good feedback from the government, because they like to see that you preparing yourself. One of the questions in inquiry is actually how you prepare yourself to manage business in Canada. That's how, and this is where I think incredible value comes in. So if you have some questions on ideation.ventures/FAQ, you have general questions, you can look. You can also see testimonials from our clients who attended this course, all positive. I never heard anything negative. It's all very useful. And all of them actually very seasoned entrepreneurs already, and they found it useful. So please don't ignore. I think it's great opportunity for you to enroll. Few days left, today, tomorrow, I guess, and February 6th, the course will start. Now, coming back to essential person and how it works in terms of essential person, application for work permit. Once you have PR submitted, you have right to apply for work permit. Is it helpful? Most definitely. Most definitely. I always recommend essential people to apply for work permit. I know it costs a little bit extra money, but it's worth it. Why? Because after all, you want to apply and be in Canada or visit Canada to see how business is growing, what's going on, and we talk to investors, talk to development team, talk to us, and meet and explore the environment. Because you moving here, I can tell you, people who were here when we present it to the government, it helps a lot, and also helps to expedite. Because when you apply for work permit, remember, work permit application require immigration officer. This is a secret, internal secret, but make this connection. It requires people to, immigration officers to get back and assess your PR application. And when we apply, it's not rare that people have progress on PR application. It's not always the case, depends on the consulate and visa office, but in general, it works well. So essential person work permit is one of the keys to apply and improve the speed of the process. And by the way, speaking of this essential person work permit, you don't have to move and be here. It's one of the perks, it's one of the benefits of this program for people who want to be here earlier, or maybe relocate family before they receive PR. In exchange, they're asking for commitment of essential person to the team. So after PR submitted, of course, and I will be the one who will tell you, you can do whatever you want. I usually, and I have a special video on YouTube channel of ours and TikTok, I think as well. You can watch it. But what I'm saying is you have freedom of choice when you relocated to Canada. But until that moment, you don't have that. If you want to help yourself, you have to commit yourself to the active and operational business activities. Why? Because this is probably the only obligation you have. But the good part, not like with some incubator who just charge you money, and that's why so many incubator-based applications rejected recently. And if you hear, probably 90% of them, who, if you heard about a rejection or somebody got rejected, it's probably from incubator. I see federal appeal court cases, and I can attest to that. So after you move to Canada, you have three options. You can keep the business, you can kill the business, you can change the business. Okay, we will get together, we will help you with any scenario, we will discuss it in private, and we will decide how you like to proceed. After all, we executors of your will. Okay, you tell us what to do and we will do that, but we will give you legal options and legal explanations of options. But before you are here and have your PR status for the whole team received and everybody landed, that until that moment, you have to maintain active and operational business. This is extremely useful tip. So when we ask, now you understand who in process. If you going into a stage of business development, if some of you, I see names who just presented or just received letter of support, then you have to understand whatever will be given to you as instructions and suggestions, pretty much treat it like an order, because it's in your favor, it's in your interest. Okay, another one. That delays if people don't know what to do, but let me explain to you how to overcome peer review. And I'm covering this as part of this webinar because timing is also related to certain delays when government has some questions. By the way, peer review has three options to start and be initiated. One is a signal from someone, so I guess don't upset anyone, and you will be okay. No one will complain about you. Second reason, probably some bad experience of immigration with, let's say, service provider. Knock on wood, we have very good record and no complaints, and everybody happy, and we moving forward. That's why we process so many teams successfully, because the government knows our records too. But we have some lawyers who are actually on the blacklist, and some service providers who are on the blacklist, and definitely that delays, because if you come in through bad gate, well, you probably suspected to be dirty as well. So when you have somebody who is asking you about this program, and if they want to join, please, I'm not asking you to refer to us, but just help them and refer to us, because we see so many bad examples. It's just unbelievable. Anyway, coming back to peer review. Peer review, the third option is random. Well, it's like pile of 100 cases, and they just count 1, 2, 3, 4. Every 7 case must be checked. Fine, okay. Don't take my word, it's maybe 1/10th, 1/20th, but let's say that case is yours. It means no panic, no reason to panic, no reason to be upset. It's just a matter of random selection. So are we ready? We absolutely ready. And that's why when you see our preparation after we file for PR, what's already done, business created, we already got social media platforms in place, we have websites, we have everything in order. What it means for you? It means that after PR submitted, you have to take over. You have to dedicate yourself to development of the business. But if we just say, take care of the business, you probably will say, how? And we have that answer. We have a plan for you. We have everything lined up, and everything is perfectly separated task by task. And those who went through this stage, they know and they appreciate that attention that we pay to every detail. Why? Because we don't care about being bad. We don't care about you being bad. We care about random selection, and we prepare people like we will receive this peer review. 99% of our clients never receive peer review questions, but sometimes we just, because of volume of processing, of course, we do have some random, and we cover it within hours, if not hours, then days. Usually given like 30 days to respond, we respond within first 70 to 96 hours. So it's all in progress. That's how you protect it. But that means no delays on our side when we have requests for peer review, because usually that delays, and government attribute probably 3-4 months to once the business selected for peer review, they put it on hold. But it happened, and sometimes it's happened internally. We don't have to know about it. Sometimes they just check business, check how they look, what they do. That's why one of the recommendations for people to prevent the problem, maintain, work on your social media, connected to the legitimate social media profile on LinkedIn. Quite recently, I got this very interesting example when a person actually tried to improve his personal profile on LinkedIn and went way too far, kind of modifying his profile to the perfection. And by accident, honestly, by accident, we went through this profile and we were surprised because it was so dramatically different from resume and from file. We already submitted to immigration. We called the gentleman and we said, please explain why you did that. Oh, I was looking for another job, and that job requires certain requirements and certain things. And that's what I put there. I understand that. But I always tell people, even for date site, it's not good to play with your age, or if you're bald, show a picture with you like 20 years ago with your full hair and everything. That's nice, but that's innocent to the certain extent, of course. But it's ugly when you're talking about business, because government is brutal in their decision. They just say, okay, we see this LinkedIn profile and we see your application. And then they inform us. And I saw this case. Thanks God, not our client, but I saw this case. The person came and said, I got this letter, like procedural fairness letter, they call it, when they actually say, we about to reject, but you have a chance to explain. And that's exactly how we know this, because people come into us after they were served by bad lawyers, bad consultants, and who knows. And they come in because they know our standard of service, and they show and they say, we need second opinion. Well, I can give you second opinion. You screwed up. And it's badly, actually, because you already did something we cannot correct. It's already there in public, and they recorded it. You can correct it now, but they recorded it. So they claim that you misrepresented yourself. They don't care. So investigation start. Let me give you an example. One gentleman last year, it's almost actually almost 8 months now. We talk about maintaining settlement funds. We talk about it heavily. At one point, the same gentleman said, Dr. Alex, you're talking to us like a baby, like babies. And I said, yeah, sorry about that. I know I sound like a broken record, but please maintain your settlement funds. I cannot do it for you. It's on you. And we explain everything. Fine. 3 months later, after that exact conversation, we happened to receive inquiry to proceed to the final stage. And one of the questions was, please show us 6 month statement for the last bank statement for the last 6 months for amount required for settlement funds. Normal request, absolutely normal. People know about it for months and months since we start. And the gentleman called me next morning. I have emergency meeting to ask for. Okay, fine. We set up a call, and he started with complaint that he actually had to spend money 2 months later, a year later. Right after we talk, he spent money because it was holiday season, it was this, it was Ramadan, it was something that required him to spend more money. I totally get it, but I told, and I'm telling everyone the same thing, please maintain your settlement, just make it untouchable. Put it on your personal saving account under your personal name. Don't save it somewhere with your wife's account or your spouse's account or your kids' account. No, okay, just maintain your own settlement funds the way we suggested, because when the inquiry coming, there is no way we correct what you screwed up. Okay, so what we did, we tried to explain, we tried to appeal to human side of the immigration officer. We explained that he urgently, and by the way, he didn't bother to even replenish the funds until this inquiry came. But the government is very uniquely asking for peer review questions. If those who, I don't see any person who went through this, but if you ever have it, better not, but if you ever have it, you will see those questions coming in past sentence. Why? Well, because they asking to provide what's already happened. They're not giving you time to provide something in the future, to do something. People say, well, unfortunately, I had experience when one lawyer actually told me, argued heavily, no, they don't have to do anything until they in Canada. That's my definition of their requirement to participate actively in business. How they participate in business, he argued, if they're not in Canada. Well, we know how to do that. We teach our clients how to do that. We help them. But the guy got screwed because the inquiry came and said, 7 days, provide information about what you did. That lawyer is not practicing anymore. He was disbarred. Okay, so what I'm saying is, life is life. You have to be absolutely open to possibilities when somebody give you wrong advice. What you do, if you in our care, ask us. We're liable to you. Everything we say, we can lose license for it because we absolutely committed to you. We have duties to you to support and explain every situation. Okay, so if you have any uncertainty question, ask. Don't keep it to yourself. Okay, we're here to help, and we're here to expedite the process. Okay, so people always ask, and I probably don't have to tell this crowd about these reasons, but major reasons for refusals are a lack of understanding of the process. Like people come in and, oh my God, they just don't know what they're into, right? So they don't know about cost, risk, timing. They don't know about anything. Somebody just told them, and they insist on what they don't know as what they know. And this is the wrong approach in life. If you don't learn lessons and walk in the same pit hole like every time you walk by, that's wrong, right? You have to learn not to fall in that pit hole. Just don't do that again and again. So don't do that. And when we teach people, we always say, let's educate ourselves together, because, like, for example, we know something about it since we do it for years and years, and we have 100,000 files already behind. So let's just be fair. We know something and we're willing to teach you. So misunderstanding of active involvement in business, people sometimes come in and saying, well, listen, I have this and I know how to run the business. Yes, you do, but you don't know how to run startup business in Canada when you're not in Canada. This is very unique set of circumstances. That's what I call don't bring Bible to the mosque, okay? So because it's just not what people read there, okay? People not following that. People following what they need to follow there, right? In Canada, when we deal with business, that's what we follow. That's why we teach you how it works in Canada. That's why we supported the development um, of the our lab, and basically that's the course that ideation lab. It's an incredible course, and I really encourage you to learn it, and for very little money. Improper designation of essential, can it delay? Of course. Sometimes people come into me and saying, I want to be essential, and I see medical history problems. I see criminality problems in the past. We have to overcome that. I see delays because some prior file is not cleared, or some custody battle between spouses if they divorce and they have children, minor children. How can you be essential and delay everybody else in the team? And people upset with me sometimes. They say, no, I want to be essential. Well, my question is, ask everybody. I am okay. If they're okay to experience this delay, because you will face delay, and then what? And then other people will come to me and say, Dr. Alex, you're supposed to tell us. Yes, I do. That's why I'm asking. And that's why right now we have this special declaration of acknowledgement. You say, yes, I am okay that this person, ABC, is willing to be essential, and I'm okay with that. I know about personal circumstances. Okay. Something like that may delay your case. And of course, I know I mentioned about that already, but admissibility, medical, criminal, a security. If people move from one country to another extensively, maybe spend some time they cannot cover. God forbid some gaps in history or some contradictions, which we try to prevent, that delays file, because government is approach this issues very simple way. They don't care about timing. They care about you coming to Canada. They care about you becoming Canadian. They care about you being clean and available, not just because you want to, okay? And lack of sufficient funds, I extensively covered that. Gosh, is something that's so easily maintained, but people sometimes really holding themselves up to this problem. And misrepresentation, guys, please pay attention, and follow our advice. And of course, I have special videos on YouTube and TikTok channels for more practical tips. Guys, just go there. It's free, it's short, it's very precise, question answer, and that's what we have. And always update. We're just about to release new videos. I just conducted a webinar for a specific audience in China. It was incredible attendance, and questions were great, to the point, mostly about business, but I covered everything too. So those segments are coming to our video channels, and please watch it. So this is something I call it as a bonus to your program today, how to address certain issues, because like I said, you have to compare apple to apple, not apple to orange. But people sometimes come into me and say, Dr. Alex, to be honest, I was offered this program with Manitoba PNP or Atlantic Canada or BC PNP or Saskatchewan program. We're talking about Canadian programs. And I found they promise, the keyword they promise, or they allege. I hate the word allegedly, because it's like you know something, but it's not true, but you tell it to be true. And I hate when politicians doing this, when journalists doing this, but when the immigration council is doing this, that's negligence. That's basically wrong advice, and you can lose your license for that. But people do that because sometimes you deal with people who are just hungry. They want your money. And when you start the program, you got it. You're already a customer. You already stuck into this program, and it's hard for you to get out, because I will show you the difference. The difference is staggering. The difference is staggering. If you take any PNP-based PR program, and I can show you examples here, this is real. Up to 5 years and beyond, it will take you to get PR. You will spend, by the time even though governments say minimum investment requirement is about 200 across the board, different provinces, different participation, but you have to maintain. That means you can apply for PR after reaching this and qualifying. Otherwise, I'm leaving that aside. But money-wise, you have to spend this, and beyond that, you have to maintain business until you reach PR. If you drop, your process will be interrupted. So you can't. You can't. Okay? You can't. You have to maintain your business. You have to keep people working. You have to lease your space. So actual time can be up to 5 years. Actual money, I saw people losing everything they had, up to 1 million and beyond. One prime example, gentlemen spent like 1.5 million, where I suggested to spend even under this program. Because we do that sometimes for big companies who relocate certain things and they have interest. They just, I don't know why they still insist, but we do that. But we don't like it because of timing. But people want to do something in this province. They have whatever in their mind. We can help. But I am strongly against it because every single applicant have to do that. You will be on your own. And guess what? You will be on your own. No business advisors, nothing. It's you. You have to contribute money. You have to provide management. I'm not talking about 75% of the time you have to spend in Canada. You have to. Otherwise, you lose at any moment in time. Here. Doesn't matter. Before you got PR, you can lose business and it goes down the drain. Okay? That's it. So, with this, what's the comparison we have here? Are you really in the best program ever? Yes, you are. Why? Look at the lower chart. This graph here shows that you actually can form a team with about 5 people. 3, 2, 1. We have teams of 1, teams of 2. We have multiple teams with options of completion because they just decide who they want to be together with. Okay, but up to 5 people can form the team. Your requirements and your processing will be in about 2 years, you get it. Okay, yes, it might be longer, but like here, it can be 7, 8 years, even 10. Okay, here, yes, it's possible that you go a little bit beyond, but if you got into COVID and after COVID, of course, some influence is there. But maximum spending, I never saw anybody who worked with us spend more than this. Okay, so this is something that people can combine and split. 5 people combine and have some efforts, and this is something extremely significant. Okay, so when people talking to me about something like, let's talk about other program, I say I love it. I love to crunch numbers. And if you know me a little bit, 5 degrees, one of them finance. Okay, the first nuclear physics, so I have to be precise because in nuclear physics, which was my first degree, it's dangerous to be wrong. Okay, so I learned to be precise, like in science and academic, and basically that's why I approach every process as scientific process. I want to tell you and leave you with a right impression that we have absolutely incredible program. Timing is tough. I try to cover all aspects of timing issue. And now I suggest you give our moderator 2 minutes. Whoever has a question remaining, please type in chat and we will answer it one by one.